United, WFC. Hello and welcome to All For United with me, John Foster, MUFC. If this is your first show back, Happy New Year to you all. Ben, Stuart, Maisy, how's everybody doing?
Really good, thank you.
Very good, thank you.
We got
not too bad.
Nice one, Stu. Good to see you back on the show as well. Got lots of things to get into. So Adam Millington put a little tweet out that was deleted shortly after, and it was a great debate. So it gave me an idea to have a show about it. So we'll discuss that shortly as well. 2021, I believe, has been a good year for women's football in regards to growth and exposure. Obviously, always more things to be done, but I do feel like that we made strides in 2021. So we just want to discuss a little bit about that, and also, of course, what we could aim to achieve in 2022. And also, it's Ben's first show back after about 5 or 6 weeks. So it wouldn't be a shame to have a show without Ben having a bit of a rant. So Ben, have 30 minutes to have a little think about what you want to rant about, and then at the end of the show, we'll jump on that one as well.
Absolutely. I've already got it in my head anyway, what I'm ranting about.
I thought you would. Hello to everybody in the comments. Thanks for being on there as well. Connor, nice to see you, mate. Just start off with yourself then, Ben. Obviously, you haven't been on the show for a while. How's the family? How was Christmas? How was football? I know you've been still going to a few matches. How's things?
Yeah, not bad, mate. If you said a few matches, mate, I've been to all sorts of matches, mate. You can imagine I've been snowed under with all the men's matches, the women's matches. Not so much under 23s because of clashing them again, which I will get into later on. But yeah, lots of football matches, keep myself busy. I'd obviously work as well, which is, as you know, you're working near enough the same sector as I do. It'd been mad busy over Christmas. I couldn't even get on a show, which I do apologise people for. The Saturday shows missed me, I believe. No, it's not really. Matt's done a great, fantastic shows without me. You know, he's really took it on to the next level of Saturday night shows live or pre-recording, whichever way around he's done it. I couldn't thank Matt as much as I can, as much as I already have done. He's done absolutely brilliantly in my absence, but I will be back this Saturday. Thank God I'm finally back. I can sort of try and put my input in the show a little bit more. But yeah, I've just been mad busy, mate. I've had a great Christmas. My son's been spoiled rotten, which that's what it's all about now. I'm too old to celebrate Christmas too much. I just look forward to the Christmas dinner. I've had a great Christmas and a good New Year. How about yourself, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Much like yourself, worked quite a lot over Christmas, but I think the last couple of days have been the days where I can actually kind of switch off now. So I've worked pretty much from Boxing Day right up until today. So I've literally had no days off since Boxing Day. So that's why everyone's been getting a load of WhatsApp messages from me trying to plan the next couple of weeks. Well, actually, I've planned the next every show up until the 29th of January now. So really looking forward to the next few weeks. Stuart, obviously, Happy New Year to yourself. Talk to me about Sin 71. What are your plans for Sin 71 this year, mate?
The plan is to hopefully do a little bit more. So those that don't follow us, we are basically a women's football website. We cover every level from international to WSL through to grassroots and even in some cases youth football. My passion is the National League. I should probably chuck in that I have been a Man United season ticket holder with the men's side, but living in Portsmouth, I do have a huge soft spot for Portsmouth women. So we've got Portsmouth women here. Underneath, we've got Dulwich Hamlet as well. We sponsor a player for Dulwich Hamlet. So you get stuff like that in return. So we try and give back as much as we can. We currently sponsor 2 players, and we've sponsored Chichester and Selsey on the back of the shirts, and we've got 2 new sponsorships that we'll hopefully be sharing at the end of the month. We have a podcast, we've got the website, and we've got the Twitter's our main one. I don't have the time to keep up with Instagram and Facebook as well because we're all volunteers. I've got a 2-year-old, so my spare time to actually write is quite rare. But hopefully this year things are going to change a little bit. I can get things in the diary and kind of take a little note out of your book and be really organised, and we can keep that content flowing. We've got quite a lot of writers, so keep them engaged and we can get the content out. We're always after more. We don't actually have a Man United correspondent. So if there's anyone around there that's quite interested in Man United women and you want to share your views on paper or online, then come on over. And that's the nutshell answer anyway.
Maybe I could do a Stourbridge one as well, and that'll keep Connor happy in the comments. So something might be in the pipeline with Stourbridge as well coming up. So I'll be.
We love it. We love it.
Excellent. And Maisy, how you doing, mate? You okay?
I'm very well, thank you, John. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Good to have you back on the show. For anyone who hasn't seen Maisy or Maisy's channel, give it a bit of a shout out, mate.
My YouTube channel is Devils United. I do both men and women's football for Manchester United.
Awesome. Okay, so we'll get straight into it. Stuart's just got a comment on there. No, not at the moment, mate, if I'm honest. Not much news going around at all. But as soon as we hear something, obviously, we'll let you know. So Adam Millington put out a tweet that was deleted, I think, pretty much in the same afternoon. Something along the lines of, would clubs care so much about their women's team if maybe we didn't put pressure on it, or if the media didn't put pressure on it, if it wasn't so talked about, I guess, would they care? Well, as if they have to care. Examples of this would be Liverpool had a lot of bad press a couple of seasons ago, and especially last season, and it looks like that they've kind of turned it around. They've invested a little bit, and all of a sudden now you don't hear too much negativity around Liverpool. Man United obviously never had a team up until 2018 when we got reformed. So we just kind of want to get into this a little bit here. So Benny, just obviously started off with yourself on this. From a Man United point of view, you've obviously followed Man United a very long time, all your life, I think it's fair to say. No sign of any women's team since the 90s. Where do you kind of sit when all of a sudden, we reformed out of nowhere, 2018. There wasn't much talk about it before then. Do you think it was all down to pressure?
It probably was done, mate. There was always all that talk, or United got the women's side. United disrespected the women's football. Why haven't a club as big as Manchester United have the women's side? And this became a bit of discussion, I think, not just in England as well, it was across the world. And then it was pointed out that Real Madrid didn't have a women's side either. Real Madrid, arguably the biggest team in European football, didn't have a women's side. I think there was Southampton a bit ago. I think I could be wrong. It might have been Southampton was another Premier League side that not till recently didn't have a professional women's team. So it wasn't just United. It was just, but it mainly was because everybody, as you know, United make the news. They make clickbait. They generate a lot of talk. And let's be fair, it wasn't down to Man United for not having a women's side. That was knocked on the head by the ownership of the Glazers in 2005 when they came in. They went, this women's side doesn't make us money. Axed it, they chopped it straight away, which which I think was the wrong thing to do. But obviously, they thought it was the right thing at the time to do. And when you said, we heard nothing until about 2018, till obviously the team reforming, becoming a professional outfit and a fully professional outfit, and that, and Case Stoney having X amount of time to get a team together. But we always heard that United would wait for the right time, waiting for the right time. Perhaps they were waiting for the right time. I think the club, have held their hands up and said, we've got it horribly wrong by accident in 2005. It should never have been axed. Or I think it was around the 2005-06 period when they axed them, not long after Glazers obviously took control of the football club. I think United themselves have come out and said, look, listen, it was the wrong thing to do. Look how great the United's academy is, producing talent, for the women's game. One of the best in the country, as it should be. We should have had an outlet for these talented youngsters to go on and play and have a chance to play for United's first team. But unfortunately, that could never, or a senior side, but that could never be because it got axed. Rightly or wrongly, it's up to the opinions of whoever it is you talk to. You look at the state of the football club at the minute, the men's side. So a lot of work to do there. You look at the state of the football club from top to bottom. There's still a lot of work to do there. I think United is slowly starting to turn it around a little bit now. You know, and I think it started in 2018. If I'm being completely honest, that re-emergence or or bringing back the women's side and bringing it back to be a fully professional outfit. I think that's sort of maybe turned United's heads, maybe turned the people in the hierarchy, you know, maybe even the owners, and say, look at all the positive press, or if you like, or the positive reviews that we'll be getting. You know, we've got a women's side, you know, they won the FA Championship in the first season. You know, they're doing quite well in the WSL. You know, finishing quite highly as well. We're not struggling really, have we? We're not being in the bottom half of the table. We've always been at least in the top four. You know, they're probably looking at the positive spin, and they're trying to work all angles of the club now. They're trying to make everything a little bit better. So I just think that maybe, you know, yes, it's took them a long time to bring a women's side back, and yes, it should never have been knocked on the head in the first place. But, you know, at least you can see that Manchester United are positively doing stuff. You know, that they're introducing the women's side into more mainstream things. You know, into sponsorship programming, if you like, the adverts and the front of the stadium as well at Old Trafford. You know, having the women's team there, you know, at the start of the season, and even with this new stuff they've got on there, thanking the frontliners, Alfie Mannion's pride and place at Old Trafford, you know, in front of the stand. You know, we would have said that about 3 or 4 years ago. You know, it'd have just been maybe a Paul Pogba, for example, you know, and a couple of the first teams. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of work still to be done, though. But, you know, I still think we need to look at the positives as well as the negatives.
There's a few people in the comments here just saying something, so I just wanted to quickly jump on some of those. Craig just answered the one. So Coventry was saved a couple of days ago, which was great. We did a 2-hour show on that yesterday, so check that out. If you want a bit of a shorter version, check out Craig's YouTube. He just bullet pointed a few good things. So yes, Craig, I have seen it, and check those out as well, which is great. And is it not? Yeah. So there was another comment on here. This is the one, and I want to bring Stuart in on this one as well. I don't want to skip ahead, but this is something that I did actually kind of want to talk to you about, Stuart, doing a bit more media-related stuff. Do we force our hand? No, we don't force our hand in regards to who we're going to buy, who we're going to sell, or who should pick the team. But I think the amount of hype around the women's team back in April, May, June, with the poor facilities, this, that, and the other, it was a real bad test for Man United at the time. Obviously, we had the protests from the men's side as well about the Glazers. It wasn't just about the men's side, but predominantly. It was a real bad time for the club at that point. And I do think to a point we can kind of force a hand a little bit. But what's your thoughts on that, Stu?
I think fan power is massive. With a club like Manchester United, I don't think fans alone would have had a huge difference in them creating a women's team, because there would be fan pressure for that for the whole time there wasn't one. They've obviously seen a gap in the market, and that's the key thing that everyone touched on. We all know that all four of us, we're not football fans, we're football consumers in the eyes of the clubs. And if there was no financial value to it, or no just general kudos, then they wouldn't touch it with a barge pole. And thank God Man United did bring the women's team in, and I think it's easy to forget how young the club is. Everyone knows how big Manchester United is, and it's not possible to do what the club did with the Championship by creating a team that was already designed to go and win it immediately. So, as you said earlier, I think we said that when we were in the green room. This United side has been comfortable when it's come up. There's been established sides like your Readings, your Brighton Hove Albions, really well-run clubs that United are finishing above. And you look at some other clubs like Arsenal. Arsenal having their own issues. When you see when we're talking about tweets that were deleted challenging issues in the women's game. complaining that they're not getting the full amount of training kit and things like that. And one of the key points that I noted down in preparation for this was the fact that the issue with disrespect towards the women's side and how the importance of the women's side, it happens from the top of the pyramid right down to the bottom. We all know that most likely in the Glazers' eyes, perhaps Murtaugh, Arnold, I don't know, sorry, I don't want to speculate, but for all we know, first team, academy, under 18s, and then you've got the women's team. And that's why I'm a big advocate of women's teams playing in the men's stadiums. And we won't open up the whole debate because we know that's a whole show. But for me, if you really respect your players, you want to give them the best facilities, give them the main stadium. I know of plenty of teams in sort of like grassroots tier 7 level, and I've interested Connor in the comments his views on this, that they get bigger crowds than the men's teams, yet they're still not given preferential treatment. You'll find that the men's game on the Saturday, yeah, that's played. Women's team, oh no, there's a grey cloud up there now. We'll call it off. We've got to save the pitch for the men's team. They've got a game on Wednesday. And some of them might have to be putting these women's teams in and the girls' teams in because they need to meet charter status. But in short, yeah, it's all about the money. Fan power has an impact, but not that massive amount of impact, because Roman Abramovich wouldn't have put Chelsea women's team in just because he had what he would consider a very small section of the fan base asking for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, Stu, I agree. Maisy, just as a more of a younger United fan, I guess growing up you never heard much about the women's team either, or I know you followed women's football, but how good did it make you feel? Because I know that you did follow women's football to a point, to see like your own club get a women's team.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely brilliant that Manchester United have finally got the women's team, because I grew up always liking the men's football. So even when it came to like the World Cup for the women's and the Euros, because I didn't know too much about it, I never watched it, and I just never got into watching it, especially in the World Cup or the Euros. But then once I found out Manchester United have formed the women's side, it made me grow to love the actual football itself, and it made me look at football in a whole different way in terms of the fans, in terms of the stadium, the way how the funding is for the women's football overall as well. And what I have noticed back before the women's team actually did exist, if you look at like the Man United jerseys in the past, there was very low in terms of the jerseys. So like there was quite a V-neck kind of shirt. And what I think, in a way, a lot of people would say maybe it was degrading. Some people may not like that. And knowing that they've got this new women's team, they've changed the jerseys to make it look like more like the men's one. So like this one now, it goes right up to my neck. I prefer that in a much better way. And it just shows that as well as having this women's team, it's bringing a lot more respect to the women's fans, as well as having a women's football team. It's bringing respect for both sides.
It's a great point, absolutely. Yeah, I've left that comment on screen. Paul was on the show yesterday, so again, another plug. But yesterday's show was smashing, lasted 2 hours, so Paul was on there. Stu, do you just want to touch on that one before we move on to a couple of other clubs that I want to talk about?
So obviously we're asking about sort of like if Man United's form dropped. I just think it's not going to happen. United are a big enough club now that a poor season for United is finishing 7th. There's no danger for them dropping. There's no danger for financial investment. No, United is safe. I wouldn't be worried about Man United at any shape or form. If you're a supporter of a club like Birmingham, that's when you perhaps worry slightly, because let's face it, Chelsea are probably the only team that are going to be making some sort of money and have generating a good income, and they're still probably making a loss. So therefore, if your parent club, if you want to call it that, gets relegated, then you're in trouble. Like you look at Bristol City, a good established top tier team, but their club is probably not going to get promoted to the Premier League anytime soon, so therefore they're not going to have access to that money. Then he touched on Southampton earlier on. Southampton have had access to Premier League money for quite a while, hence why the investment that they're putting in their women's team is massive. It's making a huge impact. I know that many of their players are getting paid. Some of them, but I can't reveal my sources, but I know some of them are getting paid at least £1,000 a month. And some of the players that I support at Portsmouth Women, they're not getting paid anything. Some of them might get expenses if they're lucky. And Portsmouth are in a similar position. The men's team ain't getting out of League One anytime soon, so the women's team's investment ain't going up anytime soon. So therefore, unless the FA put money into the National League and the lower teams, there's no money in it. So you're wholly reliant on that men's team and the level of interest and support that the committee have for the women's team. And if you've got someone that's come from the men's side of football for the whole time, then you're going to find that the women's team are seen on par with the under 18s and the youth section in some cases. Again, despite playing on a Sunday and getting attendances as big as, or if not more than the men's teams.
Mm. You said something there that reminded me of something I said yesterday, and I'll ask you the same question then. So you talk about the size of the men's team or how big the club is as a whole. Do you think that might hold Stourbridge back then, for example, who are doing very well at the moment, but because their men's equivalent isn't as high profile as, say, Wolverhampton Wanderers or West Bromwich Albion or Stoke? Do you reckon that could potentially hold Stourbridge back at some point?
It will create a ceiling, and I'd be interested to have a chat with Connor about this. So I would be suggesting, not knowing too much about Stourbridge, that something like Tier 4, potentially into Tier 3 is something that's quite realistic, because that's not dependent on finances necessarily. But where there's no money, once you win in the National League, if you win it, you're stuck there. So if you want to make that jump into Championship, that's when you're going to struggle.
Cool. Yeah, just thought I'd throw that out there because obviously we kind of got mentioned a little bit on yesterday's show.
It's a good point, and it's something that, next time you get Connor on, I'd love to have a bit more of an in-depth chat about, because I feel like I could probably learn a few little bits about that. But
yeah, 100%. Yeah, Ben, just a couple of other clubs on this topic as well, like Force in the Hand and all this kind of stuff. Birmingham and Liverpool obviously had a lot of bad press over the last 12 months. We've definitely seen Liverpool kind of things got quiet on both fronts now. You don't see as much moaning or as many things in the press. But do you honestly think Liverpool would have gone out and invested in the women's team if there wasn't this much hype in the media about it?
Possibly not, mate, because Liverpool were one of those teams that have been sort of, for the massive club that Liverpool are, let's be fair, they're the behemoths of English football. They're with Manchester United, the two clubs that are the behemoths of English football. And you look at them and the way they treated the women's side, look at when Liverpool won the Premier League, their women's team got relegated all in the same season. But it was trouble even before then. Players leaving left, right, and centre, saying the coach is substandard, the facilities are substandard. Goalkeepers not getting coached properly, not on a full-time basis and stuff like that. You're thinking, this is Liverpool Football Club, a behemoth of world, not just English football, but the world football, and it's like, is that right? If you're going to have a women's team, you should be trying to invest as much time and as much sort of practicality into that side as much as you do your men's side. I know money is going to be a completely different ball game, a different argument, because obviously the money that Premier League clubs make from men's football and men's teams make is so much more than what the women's sides make. And as you say, a lot of them, even the big teams, are operating at a loss at the highest level of the women's game. But it's just the Birmingham stuff. I think that's just their owners, mate. They've been struggling for a long time. They were struggling to even get a stadium fully open for the season. I know they've had structural issues with the stadium as well, with St Andrews. So I know they've had 2 stands shut from the first half of the season. Whether they've fixed it all now and it's all back open again, I don't know, as I don't really follow Birmingham that much. But you look at you look at your teams like you know Chelsea are going to put money into it galore. They've got a Russian billionaire who doesn't care. Money's going in. And on that same respect, though, people could argue, look, Emma Hayes had a decade of absolute nothing but money thrown at it. She's still not won the Champions League yet. Mm-hmm. So is always money, is throwing money in it always the answer to questions and to the argument? I don't know. You know, people could see it from that point of view. But I do think if you're the likes of Manchester United, Liverpool, City, Arsenal, Chelsea, your bigger football clubs, you know, your clubs with that sort of money, there should be that bit more done, I think, to invest in the women's teams, to invest in their facilities. Let's be fair, Manchester City could turn around and say, listen, we've given them an academy stadium, but let's be fair, that academy stadium's called the academy stadium because it's for their academy. It's not just for the women's side, it's academy stadium. And now you're hearing that Manchester, the rumours that United are looking at building one specifically for the women in the academy, whether it be on the or where Old Trafford is or somewhere else in Trafford Park where United own a bit of land, who knows? And if that ever does happen, who knows again? I just think that, you know, we've got to make sure that, you know, especially from a Manchester United point of view, you know, make sure, you know, what's 10 million quid to Manchester United? Nothing. Why can't we go give Skinner, that's 10 million quid just to see you over the season, or maybe 10 million quid to see you over 2 seasons? That's a lot of money in the women's game, you know, and that's nothing when you look at it in the men's game, you know. And it's just like, I think sometimes you look at the teams, look at the bigger sides, you like, or the teams that are in the Premier League or even the Championship. You look at them and thinking, yes, I know Birmingham are struggling. We know the ownership's not right there. That there's always been problems there. But if you're a financially stable football club, you're a big football club. You've got no ownership issues. You're doing quite well. Why are we not putting this extra investment in the women's games? Why are we not putting that, just going that extra few yards for the women's team? You know, people, you are right. Is it a token gesture? Is it the media pressure? Is it pressure from fans? Is it pressure from, you know, ex-professionals in the women's games? Because let's be fair now, there's a lot of ex-professionals now going on TV or onto mainstream television now, like your Sky Sports, your BTs, your BBCs, or whatever. And their presence now are also making, I think, the teams look, well, wow, they've got a big presence now. They're on these big mainstream channels. We need to sort of up our game a little bit. Will it happen? Will it happen to the degree that it needs to happen? I don't know. You know, I just think that sometimes, you say it's like an afterthought. You know, Liverpool going and winning the Premier League for the first time in 30 years. Yes, I get it. You know, that'll always be the be all and end all, you know, for some fans. But then some fans that just follow the women's side and don't follow the men's side, it's like, well, hold on. How come they're champions of England, yet we've been relegated to the second tier of English football, you know, in the women's game? That's not right. What's going on here? And I know Liverpool, fair enough, their finances compared to United's, Chelsea's and City's, they run it a little bit better. You know, that even their top players in the Premier League are on a salary, not a salary cap, but they're on modest salaries compared to, like, if you look at the players at United, at Chelsea, City, they're on so much money. Even Mo Salah's on, I think he's on less than Paul Pogba, mate. You know,
I just come in there, Benny. I could be making this up, so I haven't had a chance to fact check it, but I'm pretty sure a few years ago, Wilfried Zaha actually ended up sponsoring near enough the whole of the Crystal Palace squad, because obviously they were struggling, and so you're looking at maybe £300 to £500 a year for most sponsorships at that level.
Yeah.
So for him, that doesn't even make a dent in his weekly wage.
That's true, though. You have got a point, now. You know what I mean? And this is what I keep saying. Crystal Palace, yeah, I know they've flirted with relegation a few times, but, you know, and they have been previously an up and down club when it's come to being in the Premier League or the Championship. But, you know, they're a well-run football club. They always have been, even under Simon Jordan's times. They always spent within the means. There was always they're never really in any debt. But then you look at the women's side, it's like, should Palace have more? Why should Wilfried Zaha dig his hands in his pocket? Fair play for Wilfried Zaha for doing it, by the way. Not a lot of footballers would do that, especially Premier League footballers, you know. Fair enough for it for doing it, but sorry, what kind of message is that sending out for Crystal Palace? You know, to their women's side. You know, and I just think. Does it need more pressure for maybe the men's footballers to say, oh, well, hold on, you know, fair enough, we get paid a lot of money, you know, and you give us a lot of money, but surely you should be giving something to our women's team. Because you look at the under-23 players, some of them are on some really, really big salaries. They're all driving around in really posh cars, you know. And you look at the women's team, even United's women's side, though, you look at what cars they're driving in compared to some of the 23s that are driving. A lot of these under-23s are driving in big, massive, thousands and thousands of pound sports cars, and yet the women's team
are
modest cars. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that's the be all and end all. What car do you drive? But you know, that's just to show the difference in salary between an under 23 player that may not make it at the very highest level. He may go and play for a Macclesfield Town. You know, at the end he might not make it at Manchester United's first team, but they get paid a lot more, or their salary is a lot higher than maybe your top player in the women's side. You know, and maybe an England international, you know, that's flying high. You know, is that right? You know, it's questions upon questions upon questions. You know, and the problem with these shows, it always ends up being, instead of getting answers, you're always looking at more questions that you do getting the answers. It's just, I don't know, mate. Maybe I'm trying to overcomplicate it.
Well, one thing I would say there, Benny, is you look at Ronaldo, for example. Let's say he's on 300,000 a week. I tell you what, you turn around to Connor at Stourbridge and say, "Yeah, Connor, I can probably pay for my mortgage out of last month's wages and my savings. What would £300,000 do to you?" I could probably start a club that could be looking to hit the third or fourth tier of women's football within. Promotion every year when you're looking at that level of investment. Like, I know that AFC Bournemouth are putting in about £60,000 a year into their women's side, and they're signing top quality players that are established at that level, and they're going to be strong favourites for getting promotion. And that's 60,000. That's nothing. You've probably got academy lads that are on. Well, yeah, Ethan Laird probably is on more than that, or if not about that, and that's just one player. It's bonkers. I think for me, if you want to look at the value that a club has on its women's team and female fans, you just got to look at how many of them have partnered up with the Her Games 2 movement. You've got one Premier League side that's done it in Everton. It doesn't take much. It's a really easy PR goal. Even if you're a really cynical, old-fashioned, old committee member, you look at that and you go, our media team said that we should get on board with this. We'll do it because it's a massive statement. And then you've got a few clubs that also you've got the women in the title. Like, imagine a day where Man United put men at the end of their Twitter handle. Never going to happen. But if you really value it, that's when you say we're equal, because we're not Man United and you're the women. It's we're Man United men, we're Man United women. And until you're getting clubs that are doing that, they don't really truly value. There might be a bit more than lip service, but 1 foot lip service still.
We're halfway through the show, so plenty of people watching, so please hit the thumbs up. And we've got an Instagram account as well, so if you want to see a bit of match day content on our Instagram, please follow that. I'll put that up on screen shortly. We're going to move it on. Maisy, I want to talk a little bit about how well 2021 was when it comes to growth of women's football through media coverage, social media, accessibility, to be able to watch some of these games, whether it be on YouTube, Sky TV as well. Just your thoughts on like how it's grown up since you've got back into it in the past year or two, and also from there, what would you like to see in 2022?
To be honest, I feel like it's grown so much because before this season, I used to think, where can I watch the Man United women's game? Because I thought on a new TV, it's not showing it live. You're literally watching it the day later. You can't see it on Sky because Sky didn't buy a package for the WSL. The only way I could watch the football is if I pressed the red button on the BBC. So even the BBC did not want to coverage Manchester United football. They was just happy us saying, right, if you want to press the red button, you'd never even got advertised on social media. You wouldn't even see it on even like on an advert saying, if you want to press the red button, you can do that to watch the football today at such and such time. You just never seen it at all.
Just backing up on that one, Maisy. You're absolutely bang on. It's been a real bugbear of mine because everyone's celebrating Sky. Fair enough, they put a bit of money in. And the BBC, well done for them for getting involved. Hang on a minute. The BBC have had rights to this football for ages, yet they've been doing exactly what you're saying, burying it on the red button. Why are they only doing it now? Sky getting on board. They could have done it years ago. This isn't the 1 year that they started. They've still been burying it, and they still bury Northern Ireland and the Welsh games. Lionesses, if they really want to be, they really should be applauded. Should be on BBC One.
I agree. And even before, like the World Cup in 2019, I never seen any coverage whatsoever on the women's game. Nothing at all. And I remember watching the World Cup whilst I was like working, and it used to be on the TV because it was like the World Cup. But before that, I seen nothing at all. So when you look at from last season, just pressing the red button to Sky, knowing that I think the women's game is growing so much, or they think, right, we'll put a little bit of investment in this because we'll make a bit of money out of this in the next 5-10 years, in the so many years. Because that's what I think Sky is wanting to do. They want to make it a bit more of a franchise for them to make out a little bit more money. So, of course, BT actually already had the women's game as well, because I've seen it a couple of times on the BT. I think I've seen the odd United game and the Women's Champions League. You never even got to see that until it was in the knockout stages. You don't even see the group stages now on BT. You've got to literally find a live stream somewhere, if that's on social media, if that's on YouTube or whatever. You've got to find a live stream just to watch the game. And even then, you do think it's still not enough is being covered, because if you went on to watch Manchester United, the men's game on Sky, and then you knew the following day Chelsea was playing against Man United women team on Sky on the Sunday in the evening, you don't ever see, right, this is going to be on tomorrow. You just see all the advertisement for the men's game, like, okay, this is the men's game, this and this for the next so many weeks. But you've never seen that coverage, and you need to have that little bit more coverage. I know it's growing, but it's only going to start growing slowly until they are going to have them kind of advertisements. So, yes, it's grown, but they still need to do a lot more growing. There has been some things what people has been raising, such as perhaps maybe making a WSL channel on Sky and BT, just so then you can coverage all the games onto there, just like they've got a Sky Sports Premier League, and there's also like Sky Sports Boxing and stuff like that. If you had that your own channel there, just so you can coverage all the games, so when people still, instead of having to find a stream, they've got that option right there, so they can say, right, I can watch this game at such and such a time, so you don't have to look around, or you don't have to catch it up on the next day and then UTV. You can watch it live, because that's what anyone is entitled to do.
Do you know who I would like to get the TV rights for women's football?
Who?
Channel 4. If you watch their coverage of the Paralympics, it was brilliant. And they, I think, would do an amazing job with women's football. They would stick it on Channel 4, main thing, and I just think they do a great job.
They did a great job with Football Italia back in the day. Football Italia.
Yeah, back in the 90s.
And a good point, Maisie's actually put, United are playing at Old Trafford, don't you, for the women's game?
Yeah.
No advertisement around Old Trafford, by the way, about the playing Everton at Old Trafford. Just get Alan Keegan saying the odd word over the tannoy, over the PR system. The advertising hoardings alongside, around the pitch at Old Trafford, no mention of it. The scoreboard, no mention of it. Outside Old Trafford, they've got a billboard as it's facing, as you're looking towards the hotel football, where the advertising stuff sometimes, no mention of it. It's like, if you really want to get Old Trafford, yes, you probably won't sell it out, but you want to get, I think they're looking at least 40,000. If you want to get at least 40,000 in there, why are we not advertising it properly? Mm-hmm. You look at the Twitter, I think advertised it for a couple of days, it's gone. There's been no follow-up over the last few weeks on United's main Twitter account about it. The website, you look at manunited.com, Nothing. It's buried. You know, you're going to go on the women's, United's women's to go and find it. Which I said, and I've always said, John, I think you was on the show when we did it. If United advertise this right, they could get quite a few coming through the turnstiles. And what's happened? They've not advertised it right at all. The only time that you actually see it is if you go on tickets at manunited.com, and it's like I think it's the third box down, and then it has the women's tickets on there saying they're playing at Old Trafford, playing against Everton. But obviously they've got the men's FA Cup game, and then House become a season ticket holder, I think it is, and then it's the women's there. But it brings back the whole argument about the TV thing. But even if you was a match-going fan, there's nothing hardly there. You go to LSV, we've got all the electronic boards, scoreboard. Well, not the scoreboards, the advertising boards around the pitch now that United are put in. I don't see it ever mentioned on there that they're playing at Old Trafford. You know, it's better. I've got a men's program here. Look, this is from Crystal Palace from a few weeks ago. Flicking through it. No mention, no advertisement of United women are playing. You know, no. Look, they could look, there's a page about one of their sponsorship there, Clean Matters, whatever, Ecolab. They could have a page like that saying, listen, we're playing at Old Trafford women's side. They don't even bother, mate, you know. And it's just, it frustrates me. And it brings you back to the bugbear of the likes of the BBC. Someone put there about the WSL highlights show. It is bobbins. Why is it not like Match of the Day, where it's at least an hour and a half? Well, this is an hour, but it's an hour and a half, 2 hours, where you do go into more depth about the games. You do get a panel of guests, guests, whoever it may be, talking about the matches a bit more, going in a bit more depth, showing a bit more longer highlight package. I totally agree with what Stu said, by the way. I think Channel 4 would take that and run with it. You know, I think they've been really, really good with the Paralympics. They've been really, really good with Football Italia in the past, cricket in the past, and when they've had it. I think they would be a really good shout. The good thing about Sky is, though, that eventually they will have. I think if the demand's there, they'll have a Sky Sports women's football package that they've got on the Premier League, and they've got the Sky Sports football, and Sky Sports main event, Sky Sports box, Sky Sports Formula One. I think they're just testing the water at the minute, seeing what they can get out of it. So I think Sky.
Do you want to know my fear about that, though, Benny? My fear about that, because I used to be a bit of a cricket fan, and when it was on Channel 4, I watched loads of it because you just have it on in the background, and then it went to Sky, and it's a little bit like the rugby league. It just kind of it does it well, but it puts it on a higher shelf so not everyone can see it that might want to see it. And I think that's when it's important. There needs to be a really good balance of free to air as well, but certainly things like highlight shows make a big difference. One of the issues that I've had conversations with people in the past is that there are actually only 5 players that play in the WSL. Viv Miedema, Fran Kirby, Sam Kerr, maybe Lauren Hemp, Houghton and Bronze. It's all the same players that always get mentioned. And actually, if you're new to women's football, it's really hard to learn about. If you speak to someone's relatively new to WSL and say, right, can you name me the right back for every football team? They'll probably go, I don't know. Lucy Bronze has played there before, hasn't she? I really want to see them look at the squads as a whole. And I hate drawing comparisons with the men's game, but if you watch the men's game, they'll talk about most of the squad equally, but it's not. They're just talking about these flagship players that they're trying to sell the game off, and actually build the game by talking about Hannah Blundell, Hayley Ladd. They don't get spoken about. It's all Tooney, Dalton, Owner.
I think on that, you guys have said quite a few things, so I'm going to try and remember a few. But just judging just on that there, I think because there's that much, it makes me think.
Oh, actually, can I just butt in now? I will. This is the program. They have actually got it in, but it's right at the back about the match on the at Old Trafford. This was from the Wolverhampton game the other day. So fair play to United for that. So before someone points out, it actually has been in the program, Ben. It wasn't in the Palace one, but it is in this one. So just thought I'd just quickly get it out there. Before I knew somebody might pull me up on that.
Ben, how many pages are in one of them programs?
I'll tell you now, mate. For the men's game, you've got about 82 pages, and it is on. Just let me find it.
How many adverts?
Yeah.
Quite a few, mate, as always. And it'll be on page 60.
So out of 2 programs, it's got 1 page out of 160 pages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then again, that Palace one was for quite a few weeks ago, but obviously that match had been announced well in advance of that as well. So it does get announced, but it's not right. It's not really at the front. It's not really, not really at the front. I mean, that front cover, United Review, you could have at the bottom here. Oh, United women are playing against Everton. Get your tickets at manunited.com or so whatever it may be. Tickets at manunited.com, whatever it is. So it's prominent. People are seeing it. Sometimes people. All right, I know these are going out of fashion now as well. I know a lot of football clubs now have stopped selling physical copies of the program. But for those of us that like myself, collect it and let it and just have boxes piled away of this. Some people just do this and go, yeah, that's good, isn't it? Some people do read it front to back, But if you had it, even if you had it on the first page, get rid of this. What's that? And have that on the next. Or even there, look, you got the shirt, the shirt sponsor right on the front cover there. Give it on there. It's prominent. People see it,
Benny, out of interest, on that inside cover, is there any female players on that?
Yeah, there is, pal. There is actually. Yeah, there's Katie Zellum. There's Katie Zellum and there's Millington. You've got those two there. And then you've got Luke Shaw and Marcus Rashford. So
progress.
What I was going to say is just a couple of things. One, when you was talking about those players, it just shows how much control, I guess, English football has over who they talk about. Because you're absolutely right. They don't talk about Ladd and Blundell. They'll talk about the England internationals because the Lionesses are so important to women's English football, more so than Premiership teams, WSL teams, and it just shows that there is so much control in the media about who they want to promote.
It's the Lionesses, plus Kim Little and Sam Kerr, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and it will be Tooney. Obviously, now that everyone's banging on about Tooney, they know that she's going to start selling articles, this, that, and the other. It's all about Tooney at the moment, and she's hot property, and she deserves that absolutely. But it is right. It's so focused on whoever they want to focus about, isn't it?
That question that John Humes put up there? Sorry, do they do a page of the women's team in the men's program? They do, but again, it's right at the back. It's not like it's very prominent. That's academy, under 18s. There's not in this one because obviously the women are not playing for a while, but it's usually right at the back here. You're looking at it. You're looking into the page 60 odd again before you get into anything about the women. It's just what it is. Unfortunately, you think there'd be a bit more, but there isn't. But it's just one of those, mate. You think that a club the size of United would have 2 or 3 pages dedicated in the men's program, but it is what it is. As I said, programs are starting to go out of fashion a little bit, as I said before. But even still,
One last thing, just before we move on to Ben's rant, and I feel like I've been ranting all day anyway. So
yeah, actually,
that's brilliant. We'll come on to that shortly. I'll just finish off for yourself, Maisy. We talked about like there's more that we can see on TV regarding football games, but I think we need more actual games to be able to put them on TV. Yeah. So at the moment, you have one on a Friday, one on a Saturday. If we're lucky, the rest on a Sunday. To get more games, you need more teams in the league. So we've been 3 weeks without a game. As soon as there's a bit of momentum, you don't see any games. As soon as you build up that momentum and you have like a big game at Old Trafford, I guarantee there'll be a 3-week gap, and then the momentum is just crushed. Just what are your thoughts on more games and more teams in the league?
I actually touched on this on the fans forum last week. That was actually my topic about extending the league. I think it would have been such a good idea, and to make a little bit more excitement, so change it to, for instance, the 15 teams, bring a European competition in, bring a Europa League kind of way into 4th place, so then that brings more European football into women's game too, because I think with European nights, especially in the men's side of football, it's so exciting, it's so good to watch, and only the top 3 are only getting football right now, so the Champions League football. So if 4th place got a Europa League kind of football, they're able to have that European experience ready for when they get qualified into the Champions League. And I think what could be a good idea, if we did extend it to 15, we could potentially have 2 relegation zones, and then for the Championship, two teams get promoted. But then for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, you could do a playoff, just like in the Championship for the men's side, so they could compete to get into the Super League. And I think stuff like that, it brings a bit more excitement onto the game, because when you know there's going to be knockout stages for promotion, when you're seeing Europa League football, what is European football, it brings more excitement, and I would say it brings more publicity for me, because when I look at the men's side of football in the Championship, I don't really watch it. But when it comes to the playoffs, I watch it because I think I want to know who gets promoted into the Premier League. So I think as a Super League fan as well, I would want to watch the playoffs in the Championship to think, okay, who's going to get promoted into the league next season? And I think things like that is definitely going to look at promoting the women's game as a whole as well. And it gives a lot more games too. I think, yes, I do believe there should be a winter break, because when you do look at 38 games in one season, it is a lot of games. So even if you extend it by at least 3, I think it would definitely make the difference.
Stu, I know you're going to shoot off shortly, but if you just want to come in on that one, not so much extending the league, because I think we've spoken about that a few times, but maybe just about like an additional European Cup. And Catherine, I know you're in the comments. It would be nice to hear your thoughts on that as well. Just, I don't know if we're there just yet, but eventually, hopefully, we will have that second competition, won't we?
Well, I think this one will hopefully get Benny nodding, and a Cup Winners' Cup.
Cup Winners' Cup.
Cup Winners' Cup. Doesn't even have to be that big a competition. You could
it doesn't.
You could be a little bit elitist about it and say, right, okay, well, let's go Spain, Scotland, Germany, maybe Sweden, England. You could do it with 8 teams. Relatively small. You could go 2 legs for the first 2 or 3 rounds, then into knockout. No buys. Anyone can play anyone anytime. Yeah, I think it'd be a fantastic one. And if,
Right.
Yeah, that'd be what I would do. Keep it nice and simple.
Awesome. Stu, I know you're going to shoot off. Thank you very much. I was going to leave the show with Benny, so he's going to have a little bit of a rant about something else, and me and Maisy could have their points on it as well. But thank you again, Stu, for coming on.
Cheers, Stu, lad.
That's right. It's been lovely to see you guys. Unfortunately, my little one's been fast asleep and hasn't woken up, so win. Look after yourselves, guys, and everyone that's watching, take care.
See you later, Stu, lad.
Yeah, good idea. Cup Winners' Cup. That was just as I was a youngster watching that one. So we're just going to end the show then, Ben. So out of the last 5 or 6 weeks, what has annoyed you the most? What do you want to have a bit of a rant about?
Well, it was. I mean, to be fair, I've been ranting most of the night, but it was about scheduling of fixtures again. You know, you're looking at the West Ham game. I know it's been recently postponed because of a COVID outbreak, but that kickoff time is absolutely ridiculous. I know Sky have got Super Sunday. I get where Sky Sports are coming from. They've got Super Sunday. I know that takes priority from them. Their last men's game kicks off at 4:30 on a Super Sunday. But again, it's just not. It's lack of not thinking about fans. You know, there's hardly any trains back on a Sunday as it is. You know, for those that travel by public transport from London to Manchester. You know, it just bears out. There's no thought about fans. We usually take, as you know, John, and as you know, Maisy, we usually take a big following, even in the women's game, to away games. But this time it'd have been barely any of us. If this game was going ahead, it'd be barely any of us there. There'd been a handful at most. Because of obviously the kickoff times and getting back at stupid o'clock in the morning, people have obviously got work commitments as well, and obviously whatever else. They've got kids at school at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning. There's no way they could get back at 2 or 3 in the morning from London. It's just stuff like that really irritates me. You know, they're starting to clash up with the men's again. All right, I think, you know, United, the women's game is already set in stone for the Arsenal Cup game. You know, we're playing them on the 19th. But lo and behold, the Premier League have rescheduled Manchester United Brentford to be on that same night as well. Apart from if either team has a COVID scare and this FA Cup game either FA Cup games get called off this weekend, then that Brentford game will not go ahead. That's the only way. And then it'll be a Manchester United. Then it'll be an FA Cup day again where that game will get replayed because that's the way the schedule is working out. And I know they've got there's a limited time on this because I know that there's all sorts to try scheduling with international fixtures in the men's game as well. So there's less and less time. But you just think of it, does anyone actually talk to each other? Does anyone actually communicate with each other? Like, oh, United women are playing on the 19th. Why don't we have them on a Tuesday or on the 18th then? But then again, you don't know what, obviously United's league games will dictate something else. It's just a bit of a mess, mate, a bit of a quagmire. It's just like, does anyone actually think of fans? Does anyone, you know? And this is the point that I always thought was going to come with Sky. It was always going to be this issue because if you have like, obviously I know they've got Friday night football as well, and they put that on X amount, whatever time they put it on, and you can't get there because you don't finish work till 5 PM on a Friday. It just all seems like, you know, does anyone actually think of the fans anymore? It's like, especially the match-going fans. It's all right if you consume your football via television. You know that you know you doesn't really affect you too much. But it's just the match-going fans. Does anybody really think about us anymore? After all the Super League spiel, when the FA and everyone else kissing our backsides, going, "Oh yeah, we're nothing without the fans." The game's not. And then all of a sudden, it's not taking very long for the TV companies to go like that, and then it's all back to, well, what fans? Don't matter, you know. If only a handful of United away support turn up, it's all right. We've got it on our package on a Sunday after Super Sunday. It doesn't matter to us. We'll get our viewings, you know. Yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm old fashioned. Maybe I'm looking for a bit of a bugbear there, you know. I'm not. I'd rather consume my football by being at football games. I think television just doesn't bring out the right. You know, that's what lockdown taught me more than anything as well. Sometimes when you go to United, you look at United in the Carabao Cup, or we're playing Cambridge United. Oh, I don't quite fancy this, you know. But I'm going to go anyway. You know, it's United, you know. But now it's like, oh, United playing Cambridge, get me to that football ground, because I can't stand the television, mate. I'm not being funny, but it's not the same as being there. It's not the same as seeing your friends. It's not the same as those trips that you take away from them. Like I said to you at the start of the show, before the show even started, I still think Arsenal in the County Cup semi-final in our very first season back as a professional team, I still had that as the best away day. I know a lot of people might say, as I said to you before, say Everton. There's a couple of Everton games that have been around that was top atmospheres that were really, really good. But the whole day of that, travelling down to Boreham Wood, you know, having a few drinks on the train, overspending in McDonald's, not eating all my food, you know what I mean? Because I thought, that's not quite a 10. I could just think of a couple of cheeseburgers in there or something, you know. I know Shane doesn't watch this show, but if he does, he'd back me up because he was there, like, you know. I couldn't eat all my food, and then the atmosphere that night at Boreham Wood, mate, absolutely unreal. You know, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm old fashioned. I mean, you two can maybe tell me a little bit differently, but should TV always be king? Is really my argument. Should TV always be king, or should the companies then maybe have a wee bit of a thought for us match going fans, or is it become now the point where TV is king and then we just got to shut up and put up with it? No matter what.
To be honest, I definitely do see your view, because when you were looking at the time, even the time is really odd for what the game was going to be on Sunday. 6:45 kickoff. When do you ever really see a 6:45 kickoff? Honestly, you never hardly see it. And it's like Sky, BT, BBC. It feels like they're accommodating around all on the men's game. And even like when you watch MUTV, an old game from the 90s was prioritized before that Leicester game. Do you know the Conti Cup game where we lost on penalties? Even that was prioritized over the women's game. What was live? It wasn't shown on anything. But then MUTV decides, oh, I'll show a game from the 90s. It's all okay. That shouldn't be the case at all, because I think it definitely should prioritise around the fans. Because like you said, personally, I could not have even gone to West Ham because I work. So if I'm working at 8 in the morning the following day and I get home at 1 in the morning, I'm not going to be able to sleep. So in that case, it's not fair. And you look at, like, for instance, if you were going to do a late kickoff, maybe it could be probably ideal to do it on a Saturday rather than a Sunday, because there's not many people who work on a Sunday as much as a Saturday, a Monday. There's going to be less people working on a Sunday morning than a Monday morning. So if you want to do a late kickoff, do it on a Saturday. Do it on a Friday. Don't do it on a Sunday evening, especially when you're traveling 5 hours to get down there, just for them to watch your football, come back home, and then you're like, oh, got no sleep, I'm knackered the next day. I know this is all part of being a football fan as well, having that atmosphere, travelling around for your club. But they do definitely need to take some bit more in consideration for the fans. If that is either perhaps, for instance, if, for example, the last game is going to be at like 4:30 for the men's game, why not start it like halfway in between it? So like you could say like we'll start at 5:30 then, and then you can still watch the first half of the men's game, and then once that goes off, put it onto the women. You can put the women's game on then. Did also, or maybe Niall's made a good point here. Amazon Prime. Why not Amazon Prime invest into the women's football as well? Because that could be a good idea, because you can still stream it off your phone. You can put it on 2 different, like you could put one on TV, put one on your laptop. So there's different ways of watching it then.
That's a great way to end the show. Sorry, my Wi-Fi was going a little bit dodgy there. So
I thought it was Matt Crane then for a minute, and I say Craney, come in.
Yeah, but I'm going to end the show there before we could say completely, and then I won't be able to end the show at all, because that has happened in the past on the Off United men's account. Thank you, Benny. Great to have you back.
Cheers, pal.
You're back on Saturday, aren't you?
Yeah, me and our kid Matt. Yeah, we're back on Saturday. Hopefully, putting an end to all this Coffee United business. We're not putting an end to it, but from our perspective, trying to give a roundup of everything and trying to give our say. And then, obviously, I know there's been a couple of issues people are pointing out. Why is there a different points deduction total from Derby County in the men's game compared to Coventry United in the women's game? And we're getting into all the nuts and crannies. Let's not forget the FA don't run the EFL. The FA don't run the Premier League, so it's down the EFL and the Premier League have their own separate rules for this sort of thing. So we'll be getting into all that and all the nuts and crannies again. Hopefully getting a couple of decent guests on as well for everybody to enjoy. So I'll be back then, and it'd be good to be back on the old Saturday nights again.
Yeah, 100%, yeah. And I'll be back tomorrow on the Friday Night Fan Forum with Andy and a few other guests. So I'm really looking forward to that one. And on Sunday, even though there's no Man United match, Anthony's going down to Brighton to watch them beat Man City. So that'll be excellent there. There'll be a few people, maybe yourself as well. No, you're not going to this one, are you, Maisy? The FC United one. You're going to the one maybe the week after. But some of the guys are going to FC United this Sunday to watch their local team. I'll be watching Stourbridge for the first time in a couple of months on Sunday as well. So at least when Man United aren't playing, it does give us a chance to see some of our local teams as well. So we'll be putting some content out on those on Sunday. Thank you to everybody in the comments. Really enjoyed tonight, and we shall see you again very soon. Thank you, guys.
Bye.